I said it before and I'll say it again.
That scene, that last scene.
What does it mean?
I'm the dude, you know?
Get the fuck out of here! No, I cannot. That final scene starts now.
Hi. Welcome back to That Final Scene. My name is Sophie and I'll be your host for the next hour or so. As always, I'm joined by my two co-hosts, Ben and Simon.
Hello.
Hello. How are we doing?
Good. I'm very tired.
Oh,
very,
no.
very tired.
You need to tell us all about your severe jet lag.
Yes. Yeah. I just got back from New York.
How can you tell when someone's been to New York?
They tell you.
Don't worry, they tell you.
Yeah, there you go.
Simon,
yeah.
I think you need some sort of sound effect here, like in New York.
Yeah, just some.
What's your New York theme music?
Yeah.
Like that jazzy sax from Taxi Driver, you know? Yeah, just got back from New York, which was amazing. It was a lot of fun. So I went to a basketball game and saw Chris Rock and Kevin Bacon, which was cool. But didn't see. I was really.
Were they holding hands?
No, disappointingly not. They were sitting next to one another. And Nicholas Hoult there, who at one point I didn't think they were actually going to put on camera, and then they put him in like this little montage at the end, which I felt really bad for him because I was like, oh, it's Nicholas Hoult. Like everybody they should put him on the screens as well. And then right at the end of the game, he got like, and who else is here? I was like, oh, come on.
Do you think someone was scrabbling around during the match to like cut together some edit?
Genuinely, I think they were probably like, who the fuck is that guy? Hang on. Oh, shit about a boy. And then, you know.
And they gave him a loaf of bread to throw into the basketball court.
Yeah, exactly, to throw into the hoop from center court. But yeah, I was in a way I was kind of disappointed because I was walking around New York going like, I'm going to see all these famous people. And then you don't see any famous people. Everybody talks about like seeing famous people in the street in New York, and I didn't see a single one. I think
you saw plenty in one go.
Well, I mean, I saw plenty from like 100 feet away.
Right.
I saw them on a jumbotron, and then I think I'm almost 99% certain I saw a guy from Euphoria run past us in the park, or not Euphoria, White Lotus.
Oh,
from season 2, yeah, the kind of the tech guy who's always running in the show as well. So
Aubrey Plaza's.
Yeah, Aubrey Plaza's husband. Yeah, so that made me think, oh, he's always running in the show. That's why I recognize him, because he ran past me.
Nice.
It wasn't Tom Cruise's film run.
Oh, God, I love Tom Cruise's film run. But no, and I mean, this is a good segue into what I watched, obviously, 7 and 6 hour flights. As an incredibly anxious flyer, I don't know if anybody can relate to this. I'm very like, stop, start. I kind of like watch like TV shows on planes because I need to be able to like watch 10 minutes and then do something, go on my phone and then do something because I'm constantly just in fear of death. So I need to be distracting myself. But I, for some ridiculous reason, tried to watch Black Adam because they had it on the plane. Which so it's a superhero movie with The Rock in it that came out this year. This year, I think.
Simon's face.
Or like end of last year. And do you know what? It should be good because Pierce Brosnan's in it. And everybody loves, Pierce Brosnan's in it.
We talked about the Brosnan effect. The
Brosnan effect. And I got halfway through it, and not even from...
Is he reprising his role of Stuart Dunmire?
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Just older and grayer. And more wise. And halfway through it, and this wasn't even a me being anxious thing and needing to switch it off. This is how bad it was. I just turned it off. I was like, this is so shit and so boring. I'd literally rather contemplate my own mortality on this plane than have to watch the rest of this film.
That's exactly how I felt when I was watching True Lies the other week. I was like, I can't take a second more of this.
Yeah, honestly, I'd kind of wish the plane would just crash. I was like, if I have to watch the rest of this film, I'd rather be dead. It's so bad. The dialogue is so dreadful. And for like a superhero movie that like, at least with superhero movies, you get some, every now and again, you'll get like an interesting action scene. Like even in Doctor Strange, which, wasn't great. There's some interesting bits in it where there's like some action and blah, blah, blah. This was so boring. And even the action, it was just boring. It was just so dull. And like it was dreadful. And I just turned it off and then watched Brooklyn Nine-Nine for the rest of the flight, which was great.
Love it.
And I was just so shocked.
You just need serotonin, like throughout the flight. You shouldn't be putting yourself through that. Yeah,
no,
like
it was. I was.
torture.
But Ben has some chemical assistance on the flights.
I do. Yeah, I diazepam the shit out of myself.
So he's already not himself.
I'm already drugged up, and this film is still bad. Like that should be me on a plane who's drugged up should be like, this movie's fucking great. Like that should be. I should be like living my best life, loving that film. It was so bad. And so I had to turn it off. Yeah, it was just absolutely dreadful. I was genuinely surprised at how bad it was. Put it this way, if I'd seen it in the cinema, I think I'd have walked out. That's how bad it was. But again, metal canisters, 30,000 feet in the sky. I can't walk out. I have to stay in the seat. The nearest thing to that I can do is go to the bathroom.
What films have you guys ever walked out to in cinemas that you can remember?
Silence. Yeah, I think I've talked about this before. The Scorsese film.
Scorsese film, but Liam Neeson being a priest, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a 3-hour it's Christian heavy, meditative.
A bit like The Whale.
Yeah. Yes, but not not fatphobic.
Yeah.
It's not a bad film in principle. It's just very long, and I was in the right mindset. It's like I think you have to be religious or at least spiritual to an extent to enjoy it.
Were you on your own?
Yes. Yeah. And the thing is,
It's
like,
harder to walk out of a film when you've gone with someone else.
Yeah. They have to be willing to go with you.
No,
Yeah.
I've also walked out with someone at London Film Festival last year. It was
Joint decision.
I don't even remember the name of the film.
No, she just did a dine and dash on a date. She just left.
No, it was like a late evening
Tinder catfish.
Screening. Yes, exactly. Yeah, I wish I remember the title of the film, but I also don't want to shame the filmmaker. But like, it wasn't my cup of tea. So like, the friend that I was sitting next to, he was kind of like, how are you feeling? I said, I'm very bored. Like, me too.
So it's a mutual decision.
Yeah. And
good.
then he was like, but I feel bad. Like, because the filmmaker was in like,
Oh, he's
in
in,
the
like-
screen. Yeah, because
He's at the door being like,
Yeah.
why are you
she presented
leaving?
her films. It was like, oh, that's going to be so awkward. It was the most awkward 10 seconds of my life, but we had to because it was so
Yeah.
painful. It was so painfully bad.
I've walked out of 2 films, both sequels now that I think about it. I walked out of Horrible Bosses 2,
Great choice.
which was so unfunny. Like I did not laugh once in, I would say, the 45 minutes that I sat through that film, and that is 40 minutes longer than it deserved. And I walked out of Angels and Demons, the Da Vinci Code
Oh my
sequel.
God, yes. Tom Hanks.
Yeah, so bad. Ewan McGregor's a priest. Oh, just
McGregor
dreadful.
was
I've
good.
subsequently watched it since, and it gets even weirder because then at one point Ewan McGregor jumps out of a helicopter. He's a priest who jumps out of a helicopter. Like it,
So
it
bizarre.
just gets so fucking stupid.
Even though he's actually good in the I feel like he's on.
I feel like
his
Ewan McGregor's
performance-
probably the only good thing
Yeah.
about the film, yeah, and then the rest of it's terrible. Have you walked out of anything, Si?
I think only with you.
Oh, you walked out of The Shape of Water.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
it wasn't because the film was bad. It was just too loud.
Yeah, we were in a cinema. Was it like Soho House or
Something like that.
It was like a wanky media
Yeah.
industry like screening. It was like my first night
It was
out
just
when we had started
so
working together.
oppressively loud.
So sorry, apart from me not being able to walk out of a plane, what have you guys been watching?
I'm in a rewatching films period where I'm just rewatching films that mostly action films that I've seen ages ago, and now I'm just like revisiting them. So
Still doing your film a day?
yeah,
Nice.
going strong. The Raid, I saw The Raid
Oh,
again.
yeah,
It's
great
so
movie.
good. But I haven't seen 2 and 3, so I really need
No,
to.
neither have I.
So I'm curious to watch these. I feel like this is what I'm doing. Like, I'm in a action film franchise train right now, so I'm just rewatching the first ones, which is why I did like John Wick 1 and 2. Haven't seen 3rd and 4th. Really excited about the 4th one. I'm hearing amazing things. And then, I mean, Edgar Wright, I did Shaun of the Dead and Hot Fuzz. And I haven't seen The World's End. I didn't have time to watch it in time for the episode.
Like you haven't seen it at all?
Ever. Haven't
Okay,
seen it.
interesting.
Is The World's End
The sci-fi
based
one.
on the pub in Finsbury Park called The World's End? Or is it just coincidence? Because I know a lot of the pubs in North London around where I live are in his films.
Yeah, I think
Is that the idea of that one?
I don't know, but they are getting pissed at a pub. Like, isn't that the
Yeah.
premise of the film? And
But then again,
you
that's
have
basically that's the premise of Shaun of the Dead as well.
Oh, right, that's true.
How do you survive the zombie apocalypse by getting pissed at the pub?
Yeah.
Edgar Wright's not got anything to do with space, has he?
Yes, he
Really?
directed. That's how they all met. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, right.
Yeah.
It all makes sense now. I didn't know all these connections. So how do you describe space? It's
Yeah.
like
What's space about?
quite quirky.
Yeah,
it's a guy
Spaced is-
and this girl in a house share.
It's Spaced is it's like
So it's
it's comedy.
half-hour
Yeah,
comedy
like
show?
half hour to comedy show. It was on Channel 4, like the early noughties, like late 90s, early noughties. And it's Simon Pegg and Jessica Hines who are roommates. Simon Pegg's best friend is Nick Frost. There's like there's so many people in it that you'll recognize from so many different things. There's like this character called Tyres in it, who's like this Northern Irish actor who's been in loads of stuff. And yeah, it's basically just about kind of it's a little bit like surrealist. It's not
Yeah.
like it's not totally out there, but it's kind of
Goes off on random surreal tangents quite
Yeah.
a lot, which are really enjoyable.
So like there's a zombie episode and there's like a paintball episode, which is where you do see the origins for ideas of like Shaun of the Dead and stuff.
Right.
And yeah, that's where they all met. Yeah. There's actually to not obviously I wouldn't direct people away from our podcast, but there is Kevin Smith did a brilliant podcast where he did like 12 episodes where every episode was interviewing a different director, and he interviewed Edgar Wright for one of them, and he talked about how they all met around space. And I would urge people to go and listen to it. It's called Smoothie Makers, I think, and he only did like 6 or 7 episodes, and it's in front of a live audience, and Edgar Wright is just super interesting in it, and he talks about like going to film school and then meeting Simon Pegg. And I think he met Simon Pegg I think on a show that he was doing with Matt Lucas and David Walliams, like back in the early noughties, when all these guys used to
was
kind
it
of hang
Little
out.
Britain or something?
No, I think it was called
Rock Profile.
No, it's called like Mash and Peas or something like that. It was like a comedy sketch show that I think they were like that he was directing, and then I think Simon Pegg was on it. It was around the time I think when Simon Pegg did like Brass Eye and stuff. If you can get your hands on Smoothie Makers, it's difficult now. I think it's behind like a paywall on Kevin Smith's website, but it's a really interesting interview, I would say.
That's really cool. And I'm also gonna check out Space. Like it just, I don't know, like every single time I was anything from Edgar Wright, I'm just like loving it. Even though like even Last Night in Soho, it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. Like I loved
I still haven't watched
third
Last Night in Soho. I do really want to watch it though.
yeah, I love the third quarters of it, and then like the last act, I was kind of thrown off by it. But like it just incredible. Like I don't know, I'm just having like, I'm so biased when it comes to Wright, but like very quickly, like Son of the Dead is still like I mean, I haven't seen The World's End, but I think Son of the Dead is gonna be my favorite.
It's the best. Yeah.
Hot Fuzz, I'm not sure. I feel
Really?
no, I love it. No. When it comes to comparing with, I have a feeling that I'm going to love World's End.
will.
Because I love Alien. I don't know. I was like that kind of sci-fi aliens kind of comedy.
World's End is like really good until the end. I think it doesn't
Okay.
really, it doesn't stay. I didn't think it's stuck the landing very well. But it's still good though.
Okay.
Again, Pierce Brosnan. It's got the Brosnan factor in it. So
Really?
what can you do? Yeah, after
Okay.
Timothy Dalton and
So that's
Hot Fuzz.
So that's how you would rate them: Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz,
Yeah,
and World's End.
Yeah, they get not progressively worse, because I still think Hot Fuzz is brilliant. Like I think
I love it too.
It's a fantastic film, and yeah, I think Hot Fuzz is the first one I saw. I think I saw Hot Fuzz first, and then I saw Shaun of the Dead.
It's interesting.
But yeah,
Simon, what have you been watching?
Well, I went to a rave on Saturday night
Nice.
good start.
and thus found myself
You've been
watching
watching-
Father of the Bride on Sunday,
Oh,
which I thoroughly enjoyed.
I mean, quality over quantity. That's what they
Yeah.
say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then I've watched Succession, the new
Yes.
season 1. But you've watched 1 and 2.
Yes. I've watched the second episode first thing in the morning today. Literally with my breakfast and coffee and Succession episode 2.
Shout out to Kieran Culkin, who was also in Scott Pilgrim, which we're going to talk about later.
Yeah.
And he's
Is he in
he's-
Father of the Bride? Who's the little boy in Father of the Bride? Because I thought it was Macaulay Culkin, but then when I watched it,
well,
it wasn't.
Kieran Culkin's his Macaulay
Yeah,
Culkin's
is it Kieran
younger
Culkin?
brother, I think. Could be, yeah, I'm not sure.
I think it might be him.
I can look that up.
Yeah,
for you.
let's
look
check it.
But yeah, he very good in Succession, and also as
He's
creepy
phenomenal.
roommate.
Like, I mean, every single one of them is phenomenal this season. But like, I just watched the second episode, and I feel like it's gonna get so interesting with Rome in particular. But
Roman
It's
is
Kieran Culkin
is
in
it
Father
him?
of the
That's
Bride.
so funny.
Nice, there you go.
So like, it was obviously in my psyche.
subconsciously, yeah.
that's so funny. Thoughts, reactions?
It was a pleasantly slow burn, actually, because I was
Yeah.
a little bit like, I wanted more like action and filth and whatever that Succession does. But actually, it was quite gentle, and like it's rebuilding momentum from the start again.
That's what
Because
HBO does best.
But then they've had a couple of like explosive starts. Have they had explosive starts previously? I
Really?
mean,
Well, I think the third season, yeah, because the second one ended on that cliffhanger from Kendall.
yeah.
So probably the first season of the third, the first episode of the third season was
And
probably like
we started with Logan's birthday again as well, which is how we started the first
yeah,
season,
it's
isn't it?
interesting. Yeah.
I really enjoyed the storyline around Greg bringing his
creepy cousin Greg.
Are we allowed to talk about it?
Maybe don't give major spoilers, but like
Okay.
I think that's
Well,
not the spoiler.
Greg
Like,
brings his new girlfriend to Logan. You
Yeah.
know the way Logan hates his birthdays. He's hating the birthday anyway. But Greg brings a random girl to the party, which is not the done thing.
No.
And everyone's like, "Who's that? Why are you bringing a random into the party?"
that's so funny.
And then he ends up having sex with her in one of the rooms. And Tom tells Greg that there's cameras in all the rooms.
The best.
And then Greg feels that he has to apologize to Logan.
Well,
And he spends the whole party trying to-
Tom tells him, he's like, you better go and confess to him. Like,
Yeah,
you better tell him.
so Greg then just irritates the hell out of Logan, trying
Yeah.
to get him to one side to do the apology.
The best line in the entire episode is that at a point later on when they're having this, I won't say why, but they're having like a crisis meeting during the party, and Logan just goes, "Who wants to smell Greg's finger?"
I didn't like that. But I actually didn't like that line.
I thought that was just that was just Logan,
Because
to
that was quite a
T.
dark segment where
Yeah, they're
Logan
all
was
making
making them all make him laugh. And that was really...
Well, no, they're all but then he's just shitting on all of them, yeah, doing what he does best.
And
Yeah,
then
exactly.
there's a story about Tom and Shiv's disintegrating relationship. And that was actually quite sad. Because
Yeah.
normally...
That's what they do so well.
Yeah,
like they can double between comedy and like drama in like effortlessly. It's
And
amazing.
it's clever because their relationship is built on like steaming shit anyway.
Yeah.
But to carve out some feeling like that was really clever, I thought.
I'll put my hands on the table. I want Tom to be the winner at the end of it all. Like Tom is hands down my favorite. Like he's the one who's shoveled the most shit, who's had to deal with everything. Like I want Tom.
Oh,
to
but
win.
he's spineless though.
He's fine, but I don't know. Like we are gonna do like a finale episode for success, but maybe we need to do like.
Greg gets my vote.
But maybe we need to
Really?
do. Maybe
Oh,
we need to do
he's
predictions.
spineless
So
as well.
hapless.
He's spineless as well.
Fuck
He
that
is.
guy. Oh God. So
God.
moralist and like. Oh.
I don't want any of the children to. I don't know.
I'm almost Team Brian Cox at this point. I mean, at least he's
Hey,
real.
no.
He's
At least he's
manipulated
real.
even you.
I don't. No, I mean, I hate all of
He's a
them.
dreadful guy.
I hate all of. I don't like. I want all of them to die.
We just need
probably.
sexy Alexander Skarsgård to swoop in and just take it all.
Yeah,
Which is
I'm on board. Yeah.
What's Kieran Culkin's character called again?
Roman.
Yeah, I mean he's almost got his head the most screwed on in this new.
Yeah, I guess he's
yeah,
the most
He was the
consistent
one that was like moderating the other kids during this bidding war. He was like, "Guys, do you know how much £1 billion is or whatever?"
He's the most empathetic one in a very adverse way.
Also, I really enjoyed his bizarre relationship with the COO lady.
Jerry.
Oh, with
Yeah.
Jerry, from season 3.
That was really funny.
Episode 1, I loved it. I mean, it's what I expected. Like, kind of gets me in the mood. I need to get back on track. But like, episode 2 is very interesting.
What's this?
It's a movie.
No!
Oh, I liked it.
No!
Can I say something?
No!
I don't get it.
What don't you get about it?
Let's move on to our community segment. This can be a quick one, but for this episode, with the help of our listeners, we wanted to give a shout out to local indie cinemas around the world. I was talking to Ben earlier before we started taping, but we are doing an episode on Edgar Wright, and he's the one like Hollywood director I've seen in like a bunch of local indie cinemas in London over the past 6 years. I've seen him in picture houses.
What, you mean you just sat next to him, kind of thing?
Not next to him, but I've seen him like, pop in a cinema like a few times. He always shows up at London Film Festival and Sundance Festival, like in Picture House. I've seen him in what's Prince Charles Cinema? That's the one. A couple of times. Ben, are you okay?
Yeah, just kick the table.
Okay. Oh my God, I'm so
going.
sorry.
Ben's got no shoes on.
So
Ben only podcasts without shoes.
Yeah, true. At least I don't go barefoot. That would be weird.
that would be
Oh
very
yeah, I'd
weird.
like to see toes.
Continue.
We don't want that. Let's.
Actually, going barefoot to the cinema. Oh.
Oh, dude.
Oh no. Okay, that's not gonna make it to the edit. Well, the messages that we got from everyone are very sweet, and many of them read like love letters to an extent. So like they really warm my heart. I'm going to read a few quickly, but Simon and Ben, please join me with a couple as well if you want. The first one, take care. They don't have an Instagram account, but just shout out to my tiny local cinema for playing Tar for just me, even though I was the only one who showed up for the screening.
Wow.
That was
What? So
very
you had
sweet.
the whole cinema to yourself?
That's amazing. I mean, That's
Pretty cool.
I've definitely had that post-pandemic a few
Yeah,
times.
especially like in those showings like after 11 o'clock at night,
Oh.
Well, I used to go to the Picture House Cinema in Brighton to that one all the time, and often you'd be the only person in the room, and it's really cool.
There's it's something about being in the cinema on your own, just having that massive screen to yourself is so good.
That's so good. I wouldn't show up as a girl like after 11 p.m. on the screening on my own, but like I've definitely done like 7 p.m. screenings on my own. UK, Simon Haynes, our latest guest, said
hi, Simon.
the iconic Phoenix Cinema and Curzon Clifton? Clifton? Yeah.
How do you spell it?
Cleved.
Clevedon.
Oh, Clevedon.
Two of our oldest and most beautiful cinemas. And like both of them actually got back to him and thanked him in the comments. That was very sweet. Arizona, Harkins Theaters in Arizona, best theaters around. Hello. Zurich, Art House Kinos, Riffraff Kino Bar, Houdini Kino Bar.
What does that mean?
And these are names of like...
It's a disappearing cinema.
That's the one, yeah. Cine Athens in Athens, Georgia. Texas Theater here in Dallas. Absolutely love this theater. We have LA, the Tarantino one, New Beverly for sure. Great lineups every month. Awesome community film lovers. The fact that Tarantino owns it and is preserving film history is a bonus. I would love to go to that one. That'd be so cool. I'm sure it looks amazing.
Tarantino's like subversively splicing in extra frames here and there.
Like Brad Pitt in Fight Club.
Yeah, 100%. And another one I want to shout out is from India, Inox Movies. They're just a 5-minute walk from where I stay. I can easily walk there and watch a film with no worries about running late. Which is so relatable. I feel like that's the beauty with local cinemas, that you don't have to like spend, an hour or
not an
two.
event to get
it's
there.
not an event. Yeah,
Yeah.
you just kind of pop in after
just down
work
the
or
road.
something. Yeah, it's cute.
Yeah, I did like the one person who would just say, who tagged their cinema and then just said, I would die for you.
That's also relatable.
Which, I mean, yeah, listen. Hey, come on, why not?
Yeah. And the last one I wanted to call out is from New York, AMC Lincoln Square 13. It's got the third or second biggest IMAX. And it's also a hotspot for actors and directors to come by. The person who wrote the comment has met Jordan Peele and Kiki Palmer in the theater. And also the co-stars of Top Gun. It's a really great theater, apparently.
Oh,
so,
cool.
yeah, an interesting one for the New Yorkers out there. Or, just like Ben, if you're planning to go to New York in
Does
time
that mean
soon.
the screen is huge?
Second or biggest IMAX in New York must be huge.
Must be pretty big.
Yeah.
Have you not seen anything in IMAX before?
Yeah, I watched something recently, actually. I went to the Science Museum and I watched a nature documentary on the IMAX in the Science Museum.
Oh,
it's
dude,
supposed
we
to be
should go
great.
to the BFI IMAX then.
I've never been to that one,
Oh,
actually.
dude, we should do it.
What's been the best thing you've seen in IMAX?
The last thing I saw on IMAX was Tenet, and that was shite. I saw Star Trek Into Darkness, which people don't really rate, but I thought was a really good Star Trek movie, and I saw that in IMAX in Canada, in the IMAX in Niagara Falls, which is a dump of a place, but it's
Niagara's horrid.
yeah, it's dreadful. But the movie was really good, and that like.
Wait, what? We have listeners in Niagara and we've just slated it. Retract
Listen,
it.
if you're living in Niagara, you know.
You get horrible people like us coming on our buses, getting dropped off by the waterfall
Oh my
with our
God.
cameras.
Yeah, to get on the Lady of the Mist.
Does an IMAX make a bad film better?
No.
No.
Does it
but,
make-
But it's funny because like my last IMAX film was also a Nolan film, Dunkirk. Which makes me think that Nolan just sells IMAX very well.
Well, see, well, interestingly, so like I saw Tenet in IMAX in like the depths of COVID. I saw it like when Tenet came out during that first wave, and we were all like, "Oh, we're going back to the cinema, I think," and blah blah blah. It was just a kind of bizarre experience at that time, but yeah. Definitely didn't make the movie any better. It actually probably made it worse because it was so, because obviously with IMAX then you get bigger, like it's bigger Dolby Atmos surround. It was so loud that, I mean, the movie, some of the dialogue in it is indecipherable anyway. To then just have the sound blasted at you,
Yeah.
like if you walked out of Shape of Water in a small cinema, you would not have lasted.
I
that.
just think it's weird when you're watching a film, which I think is like supposed to be like really a pleasant experience, and when it's as loud as a nightclub, it's like when you're wincing, it's horrid. Yeah. I think it's
Yeah,
not
not a
cool.
fan of
If
that.
louder doesn't mean better in films.
No, that is true.
I don't think IMAX means like louder necessarily, but you have to be in the mood
But that's
for
the
it.
thing, like,
Yeah.
and it goes back to this, like the best cinemas, and I'd say a lot, like obviously we don't know what those cinemas look like that people are posting about, but the best cinemas are like the smaller local ones where there's probably like 3 screens,
Exactly. Yeah.
you know.
And it's very intimate.
When I was little, there was this local town called Burgess Hill.
I've heard of
And,
Burgess Hill. That's on the way to Brighton, isn't it?
Yeah. And it's called the Orion Cinema, I think.
Oh, nice.
And I think it had 15 or 20 seats. And I remember being taken there with my sister to watch. I think we watched Home Alone 1 there, and it was the most exciting event ever to be taken there. And I remember thinking it was massive.
Yeah.
Like, there was this expansive audience. And then I went in there as an adult and it was like this horrid little flea pit.
I think that's the thing. Like cinemas are so big now that I have more of an appreciation when you go to like, it's like the nearest cinema to me is like the Picture House in Finsbury Park. And so when you go there and it's like 50, 60 seats or like 100 seats and it's like, oh my God, it feels so small. Whereas like you, obviously there's merit to it, but like there's sometimes when you walk into a movie screen and it's like a sea of seats.
Yeah.
And you're like,
did you know when we went to
holy
see
shit.
Sophie, you and I went to see Matilda in the Odeon Megatron in Leicester Square, the huge screen.
Oh,
It was
yeah.
so big. There was an echo, which I found really
Yeah,
weird.
it's mad. Do you know my local cinema at home is like is IMC, which is like the kind of like big chain of, and they redid their first screen to, it's called like IMC Galaxy now.
Oh,
It's
What does
so-
goodness.
IMC stand for?
I think it's like Irish Multiplex Cinemas or something. I think that's what it is. And I just remember, it's just reminded me of when I saw Horrible Bosses 2 also. I think one of the reasons that we walked out was when they were renovating the cinema. So every now and again during the film you'd hear, because directly above us they're like drilling into the ground.
That hammer drill sound that sounds like a terrible fart.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, on that note, we need to take a quick break and we'll be back with Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh, look, a message from our sponsor.
G.I. Jane 2, can't wait to see it.
Nah, yo, hold my poodle. Hey, yo, what's up? Y'all got a problem? Y'all want some of this?
Without much further ado,
Here we go again.
We are back with Scott Pilgrim versus the World, the 2010 action comedy.
Yes, God, it's that old.
Yeah, it's so 13 years. Whew, that's crazy. It doesn't look like a 2010
No,
film.
it's aged really well.
Yeah, it could have come out last year.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Fresh.
Yeah. So directed by Edgar Wright and also based on the graphic novel series Scott Pilgrim by Brian Lee O'Malley. We very weirdly, we just got the news that there's gonna be an anime Netflix series produced by Netflix with the entire cast returning, which is
It's cool.
it's cool and also like it's a funny coincidence because we just announced Scott Pilgrim, then 2 days later
What can I say? We're influencers, you know.
we're or Edgar Wright is actually listening to this podcast and he's not telling us.
I'd love that, but I don't think that's true. Netflix have probably just thrown a shitload of money at him.
That's true. Just for like really good time.
But it did really badly, though. That's the weird thing, is that
Really?
Scott Pilgrim
Yeah.
didn't do well the first time round. Like,
Really?
I think it's kind of considered like a cult classic because
yeah.
when it originally came out, it didn't make as much money as I think people thought it was going to. It made a lot
Was it
more on
before
DVD.
Juno or after Juno?
After. Juno's like 2007, I think.
I think, it feels like Juno paved the way for that. See, about actor and
Michael
that,
Cera.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that sort of that bloke being all like sensitive and still the star of the show kind of thing.
Yeah, but I reckon it was very hard to sell the
Anti-hero.
video game angle.
Do you think?
Well, so
back
think
then,
so.
you mean?
Back then.
Well,
Yeah.
and to go back to not to hark on about that other podcast, but like one of the things that Edgar Wright talked about is that it was really hard to sell Michael Cera apparently as like
Oh,
an action
yeah, I was
hero.
gonna say.
Yeah,
That,
he's like
he-
an anti-hero, isn't he?
Well, no, as just like a guy who can do like fight scenes.
Yeah.
Like apparently when they were doing the press for the movie, like they went on so many of these American shows like, yeah, man, you've always been a dork and you're like a nerd in Arrested Development, and then you were in Juno, and then I saw this movie and you're like, oh my God, this guy's a fucking action hero. And Edgar Wright made the point, it was like, of course he's an action hero. Like he can kick ass. Like, and you see it in the movie. But apparently that was a really
But
hard
that's
thing
why
to
it's
sell
so
to people.
interesting because it's not your average, seen it a million times before, strong muscle person being the hero.
Yeah.
And it's very relatable because I've only seen this film for the first time for this
really?
show.
Cool.
Okay, nice.
But if I was a teenager watching that, I'd be like, oh my God, I can imagine myself like being able to be the superhero now.
Oh yeah. I mean, before we get to the final scene and the ending, what are your thoughts on the sound and like music editing,
Really,
everything?
really
Yeah.
cool, really
Yeah.
creative.
The soundtrack is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
As always, all the Sex Bomb songs are amazing. I love, like,
exactly.
Garbage Truck, what a
Yeah.
song.
Yeah.
So good.
I would describe it as like the wackiness is kind of earned it's not like they're using gimmicks to kind of to make a boring script fun. It's like every single scene is really well earned and it has a reason to exist.
Yeah. I think they worked really closely, I think, with the guy who wrote the comic books as well, like to kind of make sure he was like as involved as possible and did some of the artwork for the film as well.
And you can tell it has the awkwardness of like a comic book story in a way. And like the editing, which is like, I don't think there's a single shot that lasts more than 4 or 5 seconds in the film. And
but it's not jarring though.
No, that's the thing.
Yeah.
I feel like it almost kind of emulates a comic book page that you just flings
different
through.
frames.
It's like, it's really well done.
It's not like that infamous Bohemian Rhapsody scene where there's like 32 cuts in the space of a couple of or like however many
Still
cuts
yet
it
to
is.
see that. The reason why I think, well, for me, the reason why all of the superhero elements work really well is because I kind of understood it as when you're a teenager, you do experience it. Everything is kind of a hyper reality. So it's almost metaphor. You know, it's kind of like in your head, that's all the fireworks that are going off in your head.
Yeah.
And the film just let it happen on screen.
But also you think, but as like, it's obviously Scott's supposed to be like 22, but like as a like a teenager, young adult, like dating someone, the evil exes is like a totally a thing that you can imagine in your head as somebody doing like these people that you have to defeat, like the what is it, the League, or like that they keep calling them different words and stuff. It's fucking brilliant.
I think I would have made it 5 evil exes.
Really?
I know 7 sounds better, but I probably would have cut it down by 2.
A couple were very short though. Like the fights were very short for a couple of them.
Yeah, like I don't know who I'd cut. The probably ones you could cut is like the DJ ones towards the end, but that's a great, like a really cool, like visual, like almost like, you know, like a Street Fighter type fight between the two dragons and the big gorilla type thing.
Yeah.
I think they all have like their individual. Some are better than others, obviously. Like the first guy, really good when they fight at the Battle of the Bands and stuff. And Chris Evans is just so good. Like that was when I first kind of realized, I was like, oh, Chris Evans is probably best when he's playing an asshole.
Yeah.
You know.
Cool. So a quick recap of the actual film. The story takes place in a fantastical version of Toronto where we have the 22-year-old basis of an indie band named Sex Bomb. The best name in indie band history, probably. So you have Scott Pilgrim, Michael Cera, falls for a delivery girl named Ramona Flowers, played by Mary Elizabeth Winstead. In order to win her heart, he must defeat her 7 evil exes in a series of epic video game-style battles. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
I like the simplicity of it. Like, it doesn't overcomplicate it. Some people might not know that there at least one more ending.
Yes, this is what I wanted to talk about, the alternate ending, yeah.
And the alternate ending is where he ends up with knives, actually.
The original girlfriend.
Yeah. I would love to compare the two, but like, let's start with the original one.
That doesn't surprise me at all, you know, because I feel like that when I watched the ending, it was a complete toss-up which way he'd go. It wasn't obvious at all that he would pick one or the other. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess just to dive straight into it. Interesting. I know what you mean. And funny enough, watching it, I couldn't remember which one, because I've watched the deleted scene of the alternate ending because they filmed it and did it and all. And going towards the end of the film, I was like, "Fuck! I can't remember which one does he end up with in the movie."
I felt like him choosing not knives was more of a plot twist moment that gave it extra interest.
But also, it's a plot twist moment. But I actually think for Knives as a character, and her as like this one that you feel bad for at the end because he cheated on her, that's a much more empowering ending for her. Because she realizes, well, like, he has treated me like shit and I don't need to be like that. And actually this whole thing has made me realize I'm a badass and I don't have to be pissed off at all this stuff. I can, like, her last line to him is, "I'm too cool for you anyway." Mm-hmm. I actually think that's a much better ending for her than it is for, like, if Scott ends up with her, like, he's
out of guilt or something.
Yeah, or he could end up doing the same thing again, and it just kind of feels like a...
And she says to him, "Go and..."
Yeah, she says go. Yeah.
So Edgar Wright has said that they had to test screen both endings, and even though like it was like almost like a 50-50 split, like the one with Ramona ended up scoring a bit higher with audiences, which is why they...
Imagine if they'd released it two versions, and just it was random which cinema
I
played
love
which
that. I
ending.
love that idea and the concept
Yeah.
for that. Like for many films, actually,
'Cause actually the film was-
for Whodunit is great as
But
well.
then you get into an I Am Legend situation now where they're making
true.
a sequel to I Am Legend, and they're basically having to say, okay, the non-theatrical release version, the deleted scene version, is the canon version now. So we can actually do a second film.
Right.
Well, I don't understand
yeah.
what's
So
the
basically, at the end of spoiler for I Am Legend, if you haven't seen I Am Legend, the Will Smith film,
where everyone's
everyone's
dead
like
except
zombies.
him.
Yeah, it's based on Omega Man. Yeah. If at the end of the movie, at the end of the theatrical release, Will Smith dies, he like blows himself up to kill the zombies and let the woman and her son escape. At the end of the deleted scene release, which is only in the DVDs, he basically gives the zombies some humanity. He gives the others, like the zombies is the wrong word, like the night walkers, whatever they're called, back to them, and they leave. And it's like this thing of it kind of shows humanity in them, and he lives. And now they're doing a sequel, I think, with Michael B. Jordan, and they're saying, okay, so the one that came out in cinemas, that's not the real ending. The real ending is the one that if you bought the DVD, which I did. That's the
shameful.
ending. And it is a better ending. I thought it was a better ending. I was really
Yeah,
disappointed in the ending,
100%.
actually.
But what I mean,
But-
but you're going to be equally disappointed by the next Bond then, because like they're going to have some, he's came out of the flames and survived.
No,
or
it's not.
whatever.
Well, no, because it's a difference. There's a difference between a sequel and restarting. This is a direct sequel to the film. But I actually think that would be really interesting, like an ending like that where it could go either way. That would be a really cool thing to try and do. Like just release it, and every second cinema gets the alternate ending, because we don't get that with Netflix anymore.
But do you not think with Scott Pilgrim, I actually was equally satisfied by the film either way. So I would have enjoyed the film just as much, I think. I mean, I did really enjoy the fact that the way the
I
ending worked.
didn't mind that he ended up with Ramona, even though it was the predictable like rom-com
Yeah.
ending in a way.
And I
Like
think
he got the girl. He got the girl. That's the kind of like yeah.
Because I guess the film had set it up that it was always really awkward with knives and it didn't gel
Yeah.
together. So therefore, if he'd stayed with knives, he wouldn't have actually got the girl.
And like everyone kind of wins in the ending that we get, because of like Knives is really empowered by like, she's like, I don't fucking need you. Like I was obsessed with you, but I don't actually need you. I'm a badass myself and I'm much cooler than you. And Ramona wins because she's not obviously controlled by a G-man, as they call him, Jason Schwartzman's character, who's so good at playing a dick. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like he's so like just creepy. But then she, it's kind of a win for her as well. And
Yeah, even though like what I would say is like, at some point in the film, she's like, she turns to Scott and she's like, you're gonna end up the X number 8 or something like that, which I feel
Yes.
like, I don't know, I don't feel like it's gonna end very well for them, because maybe he has grown a bit, but
He's
I
only
don't think
22.
No, as in like, in terms of like where this is going, I don't think it's gonna go anywhere, that kind of relationship. I feel like it's something very temporary, and I think it's gonna be her 8th ex basically very soon.
he'll be the new member of the league. Maybe,
yeah. But it's interesting because like, if you remember the very last shot, they basically hold hands
Go
and
to the door.
And then obviously there's a lot of debate in terms of what that door is about, but like in plain terms, it kind of symbolizes, the exit, doors at any video game ever, right? Like it feels very much like that.
It's not the North by Northwest train thing. It's not that.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, like, is there anything else that you thought of that when you saw them like just walking off to the sunset
I
in a
agree
way?
with what you're saying because she's so nonchalant with him.
Oh, 100%.
It's almost like he's got to work for her attention and affection to get anything out of it. So it's not the most two-way relationship. It seems like it's...
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
he
thi-
needs to
yeah.
overcome his neuroticism
Yeah.
as well. Like he has the whole thing with the hair, like constantly is his whole thing, isn't it?
Right.
It's like your hair's looking a bit shaggy. What? He always puts the hat on.
And like, I had a dumb question. So does this mean that her 6th ex had to fight the other 5 as well? Is that how it works? Like, did it work?
No,
like,
I think the whole thing
progressively?
is Gideon says that like he puts the league together to stop anyone from ever dating Ramona. That's his whole thing, isn't
so
it?
he starts. So he started recently. It's not like every single
Yeah,
ex of her
'cause
just
that's-
joins the league.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
That's his whole thing. That's what Gideon says towards the end. He's like, you know how long that took me to put get everyone together?
Okay.
It took 2 hours.
Okay. But yeah, that was that was interesting because I was reading about the alternate ending, and like the one thing that actually changed, besides the fact that they ended up together. So like it's a very similar scene throughout. It's just like you have Ramona and Scott kind of like giving each other an awkward stare, as in like, this is not gonna work out.
Yeah.
And then Scott goes back to Knives, and they end up like the final scene is basically them playing like the Dance Dance Revolution game. But the only added change was that in the scene where they tried to take out Gideon, you know how they have this black box information showing up on the screen where they kind of give the character information for his character.
Oh, where like the voiceover comes in, which is Bill Hader, by the way.
No, you know how like they're like Scott Pilgrim 23, that kind of black box information showing up on the screen.
Yeah.
At some point towards the end, when you have like Knives talk back at Gideon, I think you have a black box showing up saying, "What's your name?" Knives
Chow.
Yeah, 18. So she turned 18 before she got with Scott, and that's in the alternate ending. As in, like, she
that's the whole thing.
Dude, that's too much detail for me.
I know, but like it was like a literal coming of age kind of film. As in, I'm now 18, so I can get together with Scott. It was funny.
But it's better for her to be like, I'm now 18. I don't need Scott. Like that was like, it was almost like a teenage crush, and I can kick ass.
I agree.
Also,
because you suddenly change because you become 18.
Yeah. No. I think if that's the angle you're going with, I mean,
I feel like until you're about 27, you're still about 18 in your head.
Yeah, I'm just about to get there.
Not when you're a girl.
28,
Not when you're a girl.
Oh, thank you. Actually, that's true.
But I also think we can't take away from the fact that the final scene starts with, obviously he's defeated all the 7 evil exes, and then it gives you like the one person Scott has to defeat is himself, and he has to fight Nega Scott. He's like, yeah, he's actually really.
We've
good.
agreed to meet up.
We're gonna go. We're actually gonna go get brunch tomorrow. I just think
that was a really
so
nice touch.
good. It's just so clever.
Because I was like, at that point, I was worried I was going to get bored of that fight or whatever happened,
because
but it didn't happen.
Because they do the Gideon fight twice. Obviously, they do it again. He gets another life back.
Oh, don't do this.
Scott gains the power of self-respect, which is brilliant.
The epitome of self-growth, like you befriending your shadow self. Like,
and like,
it makes sense that
it does.
You know what? And that scene alone, it's like that's like perfect. That's why Michael Cera is just so perfect at that as well. Like in that he's just so believable and so brilliant at that.
Yeah.
Like of course, this character ends up just shoot. That was like, yeah, we just shot the shit, and we actually got a lot in common.
Yeah,
so clever.
I love it.
Good.
Yeah. A bonus trivia is that Edgar Wright was actually contemplating about a different version that was never shot, and that is very dark. Basically, that in that version, the whole film is a dream. So he went down the Nolan route, but Edgar Wright told them the idea was to shoot at least a news report saying a local teen has killed 7 people. Basically, Pilgrim is revealed to be a serial killer.
Wait, who's revealed to be a serial killer?
Pilgrim, like Scott, is revealed to be a serial killer who more realistically murdered Ramona's exes and then dreamed up a video game inspired alternative version on his head.
Wow.
I love that. It's almost funny.
That's kind of the same film, but it's just...
No, but he actually...
In his defense, Chris Evans grinds that rail of his own volition because he
goes
into...
That's true.
And the base guy gets arrested by the vegan police, so...
That's true. It's pretty much there. They wanted to do like a reshoot to kind of add that news report version, but they had like 6 hours to work with.
Which I have actually just talking about the Brandon Routh vegan bass player.
I
feel like this movie is great because it's 2010 and they're making fun of vegans back then, and now it's kind of what that's like, the whole idea of like the way they say you're only using like 10% of your brain, it's because the 90% is like full of fats or whatever it is. Like, kind of feel like that's something someone would say.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said earlier, Sophie, though, about the focus group ending, does that mean that the only thing, the agenda that they had was to maximize revenue? So the ending was picked because they'd make more money.
Yeah. It was a studio version, which is what happened with I Am Legend as well. Yeah.
How much of the script is like that, where the studio goes, oh no, this scene here, we're changing that, we're changing this, we're changing that? Like,
the endings,
it depends.
Yeah, but like the endings can pretty much change up until the very last like month of shooting. I know he co-wrote the script himself, but at the same time, it looks like he had at least 3 endings in his head that he was working with.
But like but studios will like interfere
Oh, yeah, of
constantly all the
course.
time.
So
the
are
one
they
that-
looking for the most like satisfying ending or like
The profitable, the most
yeah, they're not
profitable.
profitable.
Yeah.
And I don't really agree with test screenings. I think if a director has a vision for a film, you shouldn't need test screenings. Like, let them end the film the way they want. Now, listen, if the director wants to do it, if that's a situation where Edgar Wright was like, actually, do you know, I'd like to know what people think, and I'd like to, but then why not just do what you were saying? Just like
Well, now with AI, where does it end? Like you could just type in any variant of a film and have it remixed.
well,
infinitely.
you could fully do the Wayne's World thing of like, let's do the sad ending, let's do the Scooby Doo
But then
ending,
I
let's
don't
do the
want
happy
that.
ending.
I want the ending that the director wants me to have because it's
Yeah,
his
no,
piece
exactly.
or
That's
her
what I'm
piece of
saying.
art.
Yeah, but that's the thing. They don't get to have the final say
Yeah,
most
so
of
I'm
the
like,
time.
I don't understand
It's-
whose is this film? Like, it's films of so many different people, aren't they? There's so many inputs.
which is why there's no like sole ownership of anything. Unless you're Tarantino, probably you have exclusive right, or Nolan, you have almost exclusive rights to your work. Like Edgar Wright he was established by then, but he wasn't like.
Do you think anyone like when Bernardo Bertolucci was making The Dreamers was like, oh mate, we got to change this ending? I doubt he'd be like, oh yeah, okay.
Well, I guess it. I
don't know,
I guess it
I don't
depends
know.
because that's the thing. When you go to the bigger studios, that you're kind of agreeing that that's what's going to happen. Like Edgar Wright was supposed to do Ant-Man as well, but they had creative differences. But in that
At the
regard,
time,
he left.
he walked
when
out.
when he was making Scott Pilgrim, he was writing the Ant-Man script.
Yeah.
For Marvel,
Yeah.
and then he was like they had creative differences and he left. But you hear it all the time about like studios where they interfere so much that the directors are just like, fuck this film, fuck all you people, I hate you all. Like I was reading about the guy is it Josh Trank who made Fantastic Four? Now Fantastic Four is a dreadful film. I don't necessarily know if it would have been good anyway. And he made what's that other one? Chronicle, which I really didn't like Chronicle, but there was so much interference in the studio. He's just like a fucking like it's not my film. Like I directed it, but it's not my fucking film. And the guy who made RoboCop said the same. They got this. I think he was a Brazilian director who'd made some cool movies, and then he came in and was like, after the film, he was like, I am never making a movie for the studio again because that was the fucking
Same with
worst
The Running
experience.
Man.
Yeah.
Where they had they sacked at least 2 directors.
Yeah,
before
nowadays a lot of the time it's because it seems to be a lot of like with action movies where they go, this needs to be PG-13, this needs to be the most viewable thing, and guys like with the RoboCop one, I think the guy was just like, but this is RoboCop. Have you seen the original RoboCop?
Yeah.
Like it's violent, it's gory, like that's what this movie should be. And they were like, no, it needs to be PG-13 because teenagers need to be able to see it. And you're like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah. And at the end of the day, I feel like, if making a movie, just like any other project, just a series
like
of
being a writer and having an editor and a publisher telling you.
it's a series of compromises. And maybe like that was one fight he wasn't willing to, maybe he won other battles that we don't know. And at the end of the day, like his vision still shows and comes throughout the film. So maybe the fact that he was allowed to just, show up like throughout the film.
Like it really, like I think that it really feels like his movie.
Exactly,
like, it doesn't feel like
There's
a studio
enough
film.
of his himself in it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And there's enough of his like style and like, his sensibility and his sense of humor in it that like it feels like his movie rather than being a studio film, which it can't at some points. Like, but I think that's because, it's hard to know. Like, I'd be interested to know, was doing those test screenings towards the end, was that a studio saying we have to do this? Or was that Edgar Wright also working with them being like, actually, let's see what people think.
And that raised a very interesting question. We can end with this in terms of like the Netflix anime series and where it's going to go, right? And are they going to what kind of ending are they going to go with? It sounds like they're very inspired by the graphic novels and where
there's
that
a few
went.
graphic novels. There's not just the one that the movie's based off.
Oh, I know that the very last edition of the novel was released after the movie, which is why like it takes a very different turn, like more open ended.
And
but
is the anime going to be it's not like a remake of the film? I guess it's a continuation, is it?
I think it's going to be more of an adaptation of the graphic novel, so it's probably going to be more in that. But yeah, just curious because then you have Netflix, right, who also have like a very strong editorial and creative point of view. So be interesting to see how an anime version of that like shows up.
Yeah, and like Netflix haven't done really well with some of that stuff in the past. Like they did
Matilda?
Yeah, and like you look at what they did, like Cowboy Bebop, which everybody really loved the anime, and they made the live action, which a lot of people really didn't like.
Yeah, I heard that.
It'll
Got
be
cancelled
interesting
as well.
Yeah. But I don't know. Such a big cast.
Yeah, too much good talent.
There's so much good talent in it, and the fact that Edgar Wright is there helming it, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think there could be
I'm
some
optimistic.
shit for it.
I'm optimistic.
I just don't watch that much anime.
Yeah.
I have to watch it, yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah. Cool. I think we solved the ending again. Yeah. That was really fun. I really enjoyed that. Cool. Thank you so much for listening. You're the true OGs out there. And yeah, I mean, with the Scott Pilgrim anime series coming out, this is the perfect time to share it with your friends or with, on your stories. Please share the podcast episode with us. Remind people how good this film is, because it really is a gem. Or introduce someone new. In any case, thank you so much for listening. We will be back in 2 weeks with our first Wes Anderson film and the Grand Budapest Hotel. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Did you like it? Did you like that?
Did I like it? I loved it.
I had no idea you could milk a cat.
I have nipples, Greg. Could you milk me?
Good morning.
Morning. Good morning.
Oh, and in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.